Hello. Today we are going to see the saturation points of salt and sugar. This a chemic experiment but with solution, and well, in this case, the solution, the solvents are going to be salt and sugar. So let's begin.
Do all solutes dissolve up to the same extent in water? Substances that dissolve in water are called water soluble substances. But all water soluble substances do not dissolve in water to the same extent. Let us try to understand how different solutes dissolve in a given solvent at different amounts. We
Well, in this case, the man is saying that if different type of solvents can affect the solubility when with the solution, the solvation, when the solvent is mixed with the solution that in this case is water. So well, the maybe the water can influence on the fire on the solvation. So well, that's what like the man is trying to say in this moment, and he's saying that in this case we're going to experiment with salt and sugar, and which are their saturation points. Well, which means the most saturated points, the part when only a gram, if we can say it like that, can be floating and is not dissolved. When there are more than one, that means that it's super saturated. But in this case, we're going to see only saturated. So
try to
so now my partner Corrales is going to say something after the man. Well,
understand how different
finish the
solutes
talk.
dissolve in a given solvent at different amounts. We will
So in this part, we can see the materials that will be used in this experiment. First of all, we have a cup with sugar, then we have another cup with salt. Also, we can see 2 spoons and 2 water glasses.
Well, a note for here is that this is the salt plate, and this is the sugar plate. And these two glasses have the same measure, the same volume, because we need the things like the volume of the solution, or maybe more or less weight of the solvent can affect, and well, also the temperature can affect when the solvation or the saturated point, the unsaturated or super saturated point.
need salt,
Well, in this
sugar,
moment he's
two glasses filled
explaining
with water, and
the
spoons.
well, yes, in this moment he's explaining the which are the materials which we explained already, and in this part he's pouring
Add a
first the
spoonful of
salt,
common salt in
a
one of the
spoon. Well,
glasses with
as you can
water
see
and stir
here,
it.
yes, okay. So well, in this part, what he made was to pick up the bowl of salt and then pour a full spoon to our solid, that in this case is water. In this case, we
Spoonful
have
of
to
common
stir.
salt
Well,
in one
he
of
stirs the solvent into the solid,
the glasses
like we
with
can
water
see
and
right
stir it.
here, because if we don't stir it, the solvent is not going to solve as
Once
the
the
name
salt is
says.
completely
And well, he is now saying something else. Let's
dissolved in
see.
water, add one more spoon of salt in it. Stir the water again.
Well, something I haven't mentioned before, it was that on that first spoon, sorry, for that first full spoon that he threw of solvent to the solution, to the solute, sorry, it was unsaturated. And how we know that? Well, we know that, let's see right here after he
Once the
stirs.
salt is
Right here we can see that it's unsaturated because there's not a saturated point. There are not like remaining grams, or in this case of of salt that didn't solve. So we know in this moment that this salt water is in this moment, well, unsaturated.
completely dissolved in water, add one more spoon of salt in it. Stir the water again. Do you see that salt completely disappears?
Well, in this moment he explaining the thing that we said, that is not saturated because
Add one more spoon of salt in
well, yes, because there are no all the grams of the salt in this case that were in this bowl are dissolved. If they weren't dissolved, well, we know that it's saturated.
it. Continue adding salt until you find that some salt remains
Well, he's in this
undissolved.
moment adding more spoons to see which is the saturated point. Well, we can
This
see
is
here.
a saturated solution of salt in water under normal conditions
And
of temperature
we can
and
see
pressure.
there this. Well, and this
Note
part,
the number.
well, this part is going to explain in my partner. So we're going to back to the time 5 seconds. Well, we're going to watch this, and after we notice at which part and how many full spoons were needed to make the salt water saturated. Well, he's going to explain us.
Water under normal conditions of temperature and pressure.
Well, as in this
Note the
part, we can see that the solution keeps being unsaturated because 3 spoons of salt have been added, but it haven't reached its maximum point of saturation yet.
But well, he's
Number
something
of
that he has to say right here.
spoonfuls of salt added to the water to make the water saturated. We added 5 spoons of salt.
Well, as we can notice, with the first 3 spoons that I mentioned my partner, those were like the necessary enough quantity to make a saturated solution. So we need to make to stir and pour 2 more saltful spoons. Because if we didn't put it them, the mixture wouldn't be saturated.
Now take the same amount.
Well, here now Max partner is going to explain what man is doing with sugar and the other glass of water.
Now, in this part, we can see that we have to change the solvent. Now we have to add sugar into the other glass of water.
Of water in another beaker and make a
In
saturated
this
solution
first part, we can predict that the mixture will not be unsaturated.
of sugar.
Well, that's
Keep
true.
on adding the sugar
well,
and stirring it till the water can.
he's making literally well. He's practically doing the same as he did on the salt water solution that with this sugar water solution, because first we have to pour our solvent into the solute and then stir it, because if we don't stir it, we're not going to have our solution or our solvation. Well, in this part, as we can into a same part, we can do that the sugar is a little more like heavy. We can may say like that, heavier than the salt. So we know at first instance that the 5 spoons there are going to be less of 5 spoons that took the salt water to be saturated. So the sugar water maybe could be less of 5. Yes, it could be maybe less of 5. Sorry, less of 5 full spoons because his grams per mole weight.
Hold no more sugar.
He's doing this.
Remember to count the number of spoons of sugar required to
He's
make
doing
the saturated
the
sugar solution.
number of spoons.
We added 3 spoons to make the solution.
So, in this part, he says that the sugar water took 3 full spoons, so 2 less than the salt water, to be saturated. And what happened if we add more, for example, in our sugar water? Well, if we add more in this second experiment, we can notice that it's going to be a super saturated solution, which means that there's not going to be only 1 gram, only 1 piece of sugar. No, there are going to be a lot because it's super saturated. And the same happens with the salt water, where if we add, I don't know, maybe an example, other 5 spoons, it's going to be the double of what we saw. That what means that 5 spoons are going to have the same content of the dissolved salt that happened in the first 5 spoons, but in this case they're not going to dissolve. In this case they're going to be down on the bottom, not being dissolved, and the same would happen with sugar. Well, we can here make some experiments if we want to change the quantity of the solute, the full spoons we need to make. We need to pour to our solution in this case, to our solute in this case, the water, to see if it changes. For example, the best example I can think in this moment is the temperature, because this man, as he said in the first part of the video, he said that the temperature, he is an ambient temperature, on a normal temperature where he lives. So if we increase the temperature, that means the value is going to change, and it's going to happen the same with salt water and with the sugar water. And the same happens in the other way. If we put this solute in a cooler temperature, this is going to make that the saturated this, for example, the salt water, sugar water solution is going to be saturated more quickly. For example, salt water maybe could take less than instead of instead of 5 big full spoons, maybe it could take 4 or even 3 if the temperature is too cold. But if we look at it in the other way, with this sugar water experiment, if we increase the temperature, that means they're going to be more soluble. That means that, well, yes, the sugar water with an increased temperature is going to be dissolved better in the water, and a saturated solution will take more than 3 spoons. Well, another experiment we can make finally here is to change our solute or even our solvent if we want. But as we said before, this experiment is for saturation point of salt and sugar. So if we want to know if with maybe if it reaches or decreases the saturation point of these two solvents, we can do it with other type of yes, another type of solute that can be maybe carbonated water. It could be a very good example, etc. And well,
Make the saturated sugar
this
solution.
is the end.
We added
Well, yes,
3 spoons to
the
make
3
the solution.
spoons, he said.
Compare the amount of common salt.
And well, this is the end. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Bye.